Hi everybody. Hi everybody. My name is Feikemi Aderonke. I am the founder of Speak to Transform. Speak to Transform is a company that works to enlighten, educate, equip, and empower individuals with a particular interest of empowering African individuals, African youth, and teenagers with the use of the right information. So we have different platforms. Some people may already be familiar with SCT nuggets that we share daily on different social media platforms. We have the SCT Talk Show, and that's why we are here today. And we are going to be talking about a very interesting topic. And I actually got someone that I hold dear and someone I cherish so much in my parenting journey. She has shared some parenting tips that has saved me, particularly with my daughter. And she's the founder of she's the founder of Parents Connect. I'm going to be handing over to her soon, but before I go ahead, I want her to just share a fun fact about herself to everybody. Aderonke, please, can you come on so that people could see you?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So tell us a fun fact about yourself, please.
Okay, that would be that I speak Yoruba very fluently and write it very well as well.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yes.
I think I should also share mine. I think mine is that I speak Yoruba very badly, and it's something I'm ashamed. It's something that I'm ashamed of, and I
Oh,
think it was so bad. Like I remember secondary school, I actually had an F in Yoruba, so
I'm an A student.
I needed you
When
back.
it comes to Yoruba,
Wow.
you
So
needed me. You did.
I so let's just head in because of time. Like we already have some collated questions. We have questions from the audience. We have
Okay.
some questions from audience and some
All
questions
right.
that we collated before. And this program is just an hour. So everything we are going to be doing is between 7 to 8. So we're already running short of time. It's already 8 past 7. So as I said, you have to introduce yourself, give us a profile of what Parents Connect is about, and let's move from there.
Okay, I think you've done the basic introduction. So, but about Parent Connect, Parent Connect is a Telegram group we set up, which is like a parenting hub, a hub of parenting resources and support for your positive parenting journey. I usually have talks around parenting before, but I thought there should be a more consistent engagement with parents so that after we've had the shows and all of that, we have a place where we can gather to rub minds on what we've learned and challenges we might have in executing the things we've learned. So that's what brought about Parent Connect. It's actually a very new platform, where
Okay,
yes, that's
awesome.
about it. And I'm a mother of many children.
Yeah, yes, you can say that again.
Yeah.
So this parenting journey, like I still say it to my husband, it's something that it threw me off course. Like I found it, it wasn't what I was expecting. I don't even think I gave it much thought. I was very naive when I stepped into the parenting journey. And as I said, I wasn't just expecting what I found. And I sit back and I just wonder how my mother coped or how her own mother coped as well. So the first thing on my plate for you is it wrong to beat a child? Is it wrong to flog a child? Because we have a lot
Okay.
of people saying otherwise, don't flog the child, just give them time out and things like that. But my best book says spare the rod, except if the rod means something else. So spare the rod and spoil the child. So what's your take on this?
Okay. Let's start from your best book saying spare the rod and spoil the child.
Yeah.
I think I know your best book. So,
Yes.
first of all, spare the rod and spoil the child is not from the scriptures. That's not what the scripture says.
Okay.
That's something that one man forgotten butler something. I
Okay.
read about this some time ago. It's an extract from a poem that the man wrote.
Okay.
So the scripture you're referring to will probably be Proverbs 13:24,
Mm-hmm.
and it says that he that spares the rod hates his child, something like that.
Okay.
So it's not the phrase as we use it, spare the rod and spoil the child, is actually not the way the scripture puts it.
Okay.
So, but the scripture here does says that spare the rod. If you don't use the rod, it means you don't like your child. That's what it says literally. But I when it comes to the issue of using spanking, I actually feel that I don't agree that spanking should be your last resort if you are going to ever use it at all. What
Okay.
I find is that I had a struggle with this as well, because I used to believe that it's okay to spank and all that. But what I found out later is that the people that advocate not spanking actually are talking about you being an intentional parent, which a lot of people are not. If you train your child, you will find that you would hardly have to use the cane or the
Hmm.
rod on the child. If you start early with training your child, if you are deliberate about it, raising a child is more like raising a disciple. It takes a lot of intentionality, which is what a lot of us are not prepared for. We feel it will just happen. So by the time we begin to understand what is going on, it's already too late, because the child has been formed. And so we now have to resort to more, stern means of, difficult measures, to harder measures for us to now instill discipline. Because in the times when the child would have been more susceptible to correction, we didn't know, we were flippant. Okay, so that's usually, but you see that people who have prepared for parenting and step into it with that consciousness usually don't have to resort to spanking. But even if you would spank at all, it has to be, you have to look at what is the offense, because with the tendency for the average African parents is to resort to at everything is spanking. In fact, they even spank you ahead of what you have not done. Like, can you see what that girl is doing? Don't baba me, don't well, you don't baba me, don't well, and they just give you one, like, just to know that I won't take it easy with you. But
Yeah.
really, that's not, because we are also, when we relate with our children, we should understand that we're also teaching them how to relate with the wider world. So if we resort to spanking children at every disagreement we have with them, or they don't do what we expect, like when they fall short of our expectations, what we are telling them also is that anytime anybody falls short of your expectation, get violent.
Yeah.
Interpret it like that. So discipline is a deliberate effort. If you look at the rod, I researched this sometimes ago too. The rod, as used in the scriptures, they said it means, if you look at the way the shepherd uses his rod, it's not
Hmm.
that it goes around hitting the sheep. Mm-mm. He uses it to direct them, show them the way, and all of that. So we must be deliberate. I read a book sometimes ago, and the woman was talking about, she even has a curriculum for teaching our children. Do you understand? Like, I want to teach them morals. There's a week, this is what we're going to be talking about this week. Like, we have times like that. The children may not know it's structured, but she is being deliberate. So when she's having this time with you, she knows this is the direction of this conversation. What I want to teach you today is that you should probably behave well, or I want to teach you communication, or I should talk to an adult and all of that. So the children may not understand that there's a back end to the story, to the interaction they are having with the mother, but she knows. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
spanking is not something we should. I think it's better for us to even say it's wrong, so that we begin to look for other creative ways of engaging, of disciplining our children.
Wow. I feel guilty. Eh? I don't like how you ended it saying that it's wrong. I
Because when you assume that, like I said, there might be men, because okay, in a private conversation I had with somebody who I know to be a parenting coach as well, the person had to tell me that there was, on a particular occasion, I had to resort to spanking my child. But this is not something the person does every time. In fact, perhaps that was just a one-off. It
Yeah.
probably won't happen again. But because I've corrected, I've warned, I've applied all other forms of disciplines that I know, and it seemed as if the only way to, rub this thing in is to inflict a little pain. So I caned the child. No, but he's not. I know this person is not what she would ordinarily do. Do you understand? So it should be a last resort when all else has failed. And like I said, if you begin early enough to train your child, you will find out that you don't have to use the cane that
Okay.
much. You might never have need of it.
Wow. So, someone like me, for example, that has resorted to, my daughter is 7 years old, and I've resorted to spanking her. How can I correct this?
Okay, you have to reopen communication lines with her. That means you have to be more deliberate about, and it's okay to apologize if you feel that they have actually been. I remember when I was young, there was a time my father spanked me, and what he spanked me for, I was not even, guilty of. But eventually, the day we found, he was looking for something, and I thought I was the one that probably played with it. And by the time we found out, which was some weeks later, I remember, I'm still remembering the scene now. How he apologized stylishly to me, like, why
Yeah,
did you lie on yourself and all that? Because he was like, if you don't tell the truth, So we need to, if you've actually hurt her, if you feel that there was some unjustifiable, punishment inflicted and all that, it's okay to have a one-on-one with her and apologize, okay, and then open communication lines. I think a lot of times too, the reason why we have this friction in our relationship with our children is that we don't make our expectations clear early on. Is also part of what we are not deliberate about. We just expect children to know. And by the
yeah,
time they grow up and begin to exhibit some, habits that we're not pleased with, then we get frustrated and we begin to. So let there be clear expectations going forward. Let her know the things that you expect of, of course, there's a pattern already, and probably you'll be able to tell some of those things that actually upsets you that she does. Have conversations around them. Let them on. It's important that the child understands why what they are doing is wrong, because a lot of times we assume they should know and they don't. So talking is very communication is very vital in parent-child relationship. You should do it
yeah.
a lot. So those
I
are some
think
of the steps, yeah, you can begin to take.
I think you've actually hit it on the nail, because there are some things as we go ahead that I'll want to refer to, because there are some things I just expected her to know or do,
Mm-hmm.
and when she didn't do it, I got offended and got frustrated as well. So what kind of punishments can we employ going forward?
Okay, for me, I am heavy on consequences.
Okay.
I believe, yeah. But what I see a lot is that parents, they will make empty threats. If you don't stop that thing now, I will collect that thing from you. You will not collect. I mean, don't. Children are smarter than we think. You don't have to shout about it. You understand? It's more important that we follow through on our consequences than all this shouting that we do. I mean, I can actually be calm and just tell you that, okay, if you don't do that, then that means you are not going for the party anymore and whatever. And I make sure by the time I do it for you once, twice, and mommy is not joking, daddy is not joking, the child listens to you more. So a lot of times the things that we stress about, consequences are good, use consequences, and please don't threaten what you can't follow through on. Don't say
Mm,
I will take it. Don't say for 1 week you will not watch TV when you know that by the time the child comes to bed, this thing is a conversation. Have it with them.
yeah.
Somebody was telling me recently, said, my boys and I, we had this agreement. If you flout this rule, this is what will happen. I took away their teenagers. I said, I took away their phones. It's to be taken away for 1 week. They came back to plead. It's not a matter of fight. Guys, we had an agreement now. Do you understand? It doesn't mean there are times that you'll be merciful, because also in our parenting with our children, that's how they learn a lot about how to interact with the larger world, like I said. So there's a place of mercy, but you should
Mm,
not always let things slide. Okay, so that's important. Then also catch them being good. This might not come out as it might not appear to be an obvious disciplinary measure, but it's actually, discipline is training, literally. So when you reinforce good behavior, you actually encourage it. So when you see a child, a lot of times we are more about it as if we are waiting for them to commit an offense and then we come. No, what about the many times that they do the things that are nice? Be mindful of the things they do that are good and encourage it. Say, like appreciate specifically the act. If your child ate and packed up her plate without being reminded, and you can say that was very good of you. That was you cleared your table, without being told. That was nice. That was proactive. You can be specific. Children, by the time you do all of those with your children, you find out that they want to please you more. They want to do those
wow,
things that
yeah.
get your commendations and all that. So you might not have to resort to punishment. But if you have to, time out, there's time out when you can say, okay, for this also time you are sitting by yourself in one corner or whatever. So all of these things are other measures of discipline that we can begin to, you know, use for our children.
Okay. So how best will you advise a parent to manage his or her anger towards their children?
All right, anger is a big thing. Anger. Number one, breathe. I just remember the video of the boy. my young boy that made rounds recently, like, mommy, calm down, relax.
Yeah.
Even I am guilty of this. Sometimes you're just like you've flown off the handle at the slightest provocation. But it's the first thing is take a breather. Even if you're already expressing the anger, if you catch yourself, you remember this is not the right way to react. Right then and there, when you remember, calm down and maybe stop
Yeah.
shouting in the immediate and all that. But it's not a one day thing. You also have to be very introspective. You have to be the kind of person that reflects on, why do I get angry? What triggers my anger with my child? When you know all those things, they might be the pointers to what measures can you now take to begin to effectively curb that anger. You might need an accountability partner. You might even work with your child. To say, maybe if I start shouting, you can just maybe tell me this phrase or whatever. So it depends on the age of the child anyway. But
Mm,
let your children, it's okay to be vulnerable even with our children. Okay,
mm,
we walk this journey together. But make sure that you introspect, reevaluate the situation. One, if you have blown it in this situation, go back and think about how you could have handled that situation differently. Play it back in your mind. Okay, those practice, as you do it progressively over time, you find out that the next time you'll be better, and then hopefully one day you'll be able to manage your emotions better.
wow.
And as an adult, what I do in my adult relationship is that when I'm angry, I didn't used to be like that. I trained myself to be like that, is that I keep quiet. And it was funny. It was a conscious effort. I knew when I started practicing it. And it was amazing when one day a friend said to me, said, you know why I like you? When you're angry, just keep quiet. And I was like, oh, so it's now obvious. But that wasn't me before. The person didn't know me when I would fly off the handle. You understand? So it becomes, it now became obvious. So it's something we can train ourselves to do, even in our parenting journey. Yeah,
Mm.
you begin, yeah.
I think I just love what you said now about like having an introspection and reflecting um about what really tips you off. Like it's something I think is a takeaway for me now, like after this program, like what really pisses me off about my kids and
Yeah.
throws me off balance. So how in the social media world of today, like everybody is holding their phones, you're in front of your laptop or you're carrying an iPad. I even just read recently that we get distracted with our phones every 3 to 8 minutes. Either a phone call or a message is coming in. So a lot of times you're not really present, even though you're
Mm-hmm.
there. You're all
Yeah.
together, but you're not really there. And I
Mm-hmm.
found myself in that situation as well. Like they're tapping me like mommy, 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 and I'm not just present. How can we handle this better? Because there are times I'll be like, okay, I'm going to switch off my phone from this time to this time, but people now send me messages. So how, even when our phone is switched on, like how can we handle this? How can we be present, like fully present with our kids?
Okay. It all starts with intentionality. Everything starts with, are you willing to do it? Is it
Wow.
important to you? Because all of these things, sometimes our children, it's just easy for us to rob them of privileges because they are our children anyway. In fact, if you were a caregiver to another person's child, you will make out time by force. Do you understand? To be with that other person's child. So I think for me, this begins with us seeing every person as an extension of God, even our children.
Mm,
Let's respect them. Let's see them as somebody that is valuable, that is deserving of our time and all that. So when it comes to being present, like I said, it starts from making the deliberate decision that I'm going to be present with my children, because you can
yeah.
actually be physically present and not be present, like you said.
Yeah.
So when you have time, it doesn't mean that you can have a time that you spend with your children every day, apart from all the normal interactions that goes on. Like in this lockdown, you're at home together, but you could have specific time that this is interaction with them, playtime. I'm not working, I'm giving them my full attention. At such times, just the same way you would do if you were in a meeting with Buhari, okay, put away your phone, put away the gadget. It shows that you respect them. So if because no matter how busy you say you are, if it was the president that was asking for your attention now for 2 hours or whatever, you will
Yeah.
give that, you accord the person the respect, accord them that same respect that you will give others. I think this happens a lot in families, that we are nicer to people outside than we have to the people inside.
Like, so true, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Even with
true.
our spouses and all of that, you know. So another person, your pastor can just call you now and you just drop everything. Like everything because he's my pastor. And you go. But not your child, not your spouse. So we have to be deliberate. So when you say it's going to, I don't know, most of the time, and you find out that if you look at what keeps you busy on the phone, there are things that can actually be attended to later.
Yeah.
The chats, the whatever. Sometimes I switch off my data. You know that I do that a lot. And I do that because my work demands it. So if I can do that because of work that I'm doing for somebody, for a client, why shouldn't I be able to do it for my child?
Yeah.
So it's about priorities and the value you have placed on your child. A lot of times we think we love them and we value them, but the way you would be able to determine whether you actually value your children enough is how you treat them. So it still comes back to intentionality, it comes back to introspection.
Yeah. Awesome.
Then you have to be deliberate about it.
Awesome. I think intentionality is really the key here, like scheduling time, as you said, maybe 7 to 9, because even though during the pandemic, all of us are at home, right? But you find yourself doing other things and you really don't have time for them. So being intentional about, so I want to ask a question. How many minutes or how many hours will you say we should in a day dedicate to them? Can you guide on that? Like 2 hours family time or 30 minutes, 10 minutes?
you know, I think even though quantity time is good too, if we can get the more the better. But I think quality time is actually more important, yeah, that we emphasize on. That if we decide to spend only 1 hour with them, as in, when I'm saying 1 hour now, you know, there are other interactions. I'm just saying when you're, because I could drop everything and go play with my children or whatever. So if I say 1 hour, then let that time, let me be fully present with them. So look at what works for you, because we don't all do the same kind of work. We don't have the same engagements. So it will be unrealistic to give you a particular time to say this is what works. But in fairness, if you look at it in fairness, you decide what time you think you can give to them and make sure that that time is their time. That's amidst all other interactions that will happen between you intermittently through the day.
Okay, awesome. So when is TV watching too much for kids? Like, I know someone mentioned some days ago that TV has become like the second parent. So
yes, in fact, the first parent in some cases.
Wow. Wow. Okay,
the
so
major parent.
When is TV too much? When will you say it's too much? If they watch all day, if they watch for some ads, what's your take on this?
Personally, I don't advocate that. I like it when you can just speak 1 or 2 days in a week and say this is TV time for children.
Wow.
Yeah, but
wow.
it's a tough call. It's a tough call because the reason we run away from it is because of the demands it now plays on us as parents. Because it now means that you have to be more present with them. But it also means you should be more creative. I don't think it's more about the time. The issue is also about creativity, knowing what other activities we can replace TV with. And when we were growing up, there wasn't TV. Like TV will not start transmission until like 4 p.m. in the evening. And you know, we were okay, and there weren't so many options. It's not even as if we had a lot of cartoons then to watch and not. So even if they start transmission by 4, probably they won't have a kids program until like 6. I remember I used to watch it. So it is replacing that time, because you know what TV does is that it kills the creativity of a child.
Wow.
Yeah, it kills their social skills also. They are not able to develop it well, because how do you know how to interact with people when you never interact with them if you're always with the gadgets? Do you understand? How do you learn other things? How do you explore the world around you if you always talk? You know, so you see, they begin to, the same issues that adults have with being too present with the social media is what those children begin to have as well. You know, we talk about don't look at what people are doing on Instagram, live your life. But you know, we're exposing kids to this same influence that we are trying to detach ourselves from.
Wow.
So a child begins to get all these wrong ideas about what life is, you know, unrealistic expectations are formed. So it's important. I think if we can, reduce it to the barest minimum. They say, okay, from some of the research that I've done, they say 2 hours a day is good enough, you know, for children and all that. So if you cannot cancel it all together during the week, or also 2 hours, 3 hours, I think is fine for a child. Let them socialize, let them explore the environment, let them do other things.
So what age should we start curbing?
From age from age 0. Because
For age,
from age 0, because it begins with you.
yeah.
This curbing thing begins with us, the adults. And I think it's hypocrisy when we tell children don't watch so much TV, and then we binge on TV ourselves. Or some of us, we can switch off the main television, and then we have our phones. We are watching the thing on our phone, but we are telling them it's hypocrisy. You can
Yeah.
only lead another person as far as you've gone yourself. I remember a story I read about Mahatma Gandhi some time ago. They said a woman took her son to him and said, I've been trying to get him to stop eating sugar, but he wouldn't stop. Could you please tell my son to stop eating sugar? Because Mahatma Gandhi had such influence that. But the man told the woman, said, go and come back in 2 weeks. So when she came back in 2 weeks with the boy, he just held the boy and said, my son, stop eating sugar. And the woman was like, why didn't you tell, why didn't you tell him 2 weeks ago? And he said, because 2 weeks ago I was eating sugar. So the first thing they went to do was to go and stop eating sugar too, before
Wow.
he could tell a boy to stop eating sugar. So I think that hypocrisy, we must take care of it. We ourselves must, discipline it. Otherwise, we wouldn't even, the thing is that we also struggle with believing that it's possible, because we ourselves we are not liberated from the habit. We've not practiced and seen that there are other things that we can use to engage at times. If you are doing it and it's working for you, you won't have a problem asking your child to follow suit. Okay, so it starts from age 0. You yourself, as the parent, make sure that you are not watching so much TV. The thing about children is that they are clean slates. Whatever they see in the environment when they are young and impressionable, they assume to be the norm. If it's books they see you reading a lot, they will also pick up books. They will feel it will be fun. We read with them. Yeah. So it's a case of you are not tempted by what you are not exposed to.
Awesome.
Yes.
Again, I think it draws back to what you've been saying from the beginning, intentionality. I
Yeah.
think that's where me, I would say I don't want to use the word failed, but that's what I did not think about at all. I did not know. I thought it was going to be easy, busy, like, but it showed me it's like further mathematics. So you have to be very intentional from the
Yeah.
word go as to what you want to achieve, and
Yeah.
have a vision kind of the kind of
Yeah.
kids you want to have. So is
Definitely.
it bad parenting? This is a question from someone sent in this
Okay.
question. So she said, is it bad parenting to split time between parents and helps, that's nannies, if that's what one's sanity can afford?
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, awesome.
What is important though is that you make sure that the people you're handing your children over to share the same values as you.
Okay.
Okay, that's the important thing, so that they are not torn in different directions. If you are sure that this person shares your values, it's not just caregivers. Sometimes we take our children to maybe our mothers, our aunties, or their aunties or whatever. As long as you're sure that this person you're handing the children over to for a certain hours, certain number of time of hours or whatever, share your values. It's not as if you go and put children in the hands of somebody that will pull down everything you've been building. So that's important. If you have people who share the values, if you train your caregiver, on how you want them to handle your children for you, then it's fine, of course. Because we cannot be unrealistic here. There are actually people who are career professionals, and you have to take care of that and all of that. So it's all about striking the right balance. But it's not wrong. It's just something you should do with caution. And it doesn't have to be only, it's just generally, you have to be cautious about who you hand your children over to. So as long as that is taken care of, then fine as well.
Okay. Okay. So what's the basic daily schedule? You mentioned earlier that TV diminishes the creativity of a child. So what kind of things can we put in a schedule for our children? And you also mentioned earlier, I think one of the first points you made was the lady had a particular curriculum as to that. That's a big takeaway for me as well.
Mm,
Has a curriculum as to what she wants to teach or engage her children with on
okay.
a weekly or maybe a daily basis. So what should a child's schedule in a day or in a week look like?
Okay. Let me say first that routines are good, whether for adults or for children. We thrive on routines. I'm saying this first because I hear a lot of people, even in our adult life, who say that don't be regimented and all of that. Regiment has its place in a person's development. and your sanity and your constructive growth. But it must be balanced with flexibility. So for children too, they thrive on routines. One of the advantages of having routines for your children is that they would have clear, the expectations. They are clear about the expectations, your expectations of them. Okay. They also can build LD habits, because we always say that habits are formed over a certain number of time. Some will say 21 days. I hear it's 66 days now, whatever. But you know what? You see a lot of these our older grandparents. The way they go to the farm, they are awake so time. It's become norm. It's because that was the way they were trained. It was a routine for them at that time, and it's grown on them. So it's important, okay. But the question now is, what kind of um, routines should you have for your child? It's important that they have, basically, start with their meal times, their nap times, snack times, bedtimes. Those four aspects are important. Then all other things you can have times for maybe when you want to read with them, or maybe there's a storytelling time in the week, or do you understand? There's no hard and fast rule to this as well, because it has to be what works for you. You know your time. What time are you at home? What time are you not? But those four basic things are important. And then, depending on the age of the child, you might now have reading time, but a lot play is important to children anyway, so we don't actually have to stack up the whole time with particular structured activities for them. Play is work for the child, actually, for a child, especially like below the ages of 7 downwards. That is what they know as work. We say we go to work. Their own after school is play. That's actually how they interact with the environment, and all the things you've been teaching them. That's how they put it in context. So you leave a child to play, you see them begin to do a lot of things that you'll be surprised that they are doing. Okay, you see, if they have siblings, you see they will be acting drama for you, that you yourself, you'll be surprised that what is going on. So it's not we are not saying to stack up their schedule like that, so that they don't have everything is structured. No, but the important things, their waking up time. Okay, when you wake up, what are the first things you do? It's not as if you wake up, you start working. Is it to take your bath first? Is it prayer? Is it whatever? Okay, when you're bedtime, when is bedtime? When is nap time? When is food time? When is snack time? Okay, then in between, all other things, depending on what you think you want to inculcate or instill in your children that are worthy of putting on the schedule, then you put it.
But what kind of things can we put in between those basic
I've talked
routines?
about reading. I've talked about reading, for instance. Yes, you could have times when your children take turns to read. It's a different thing for you to they read their books normally, but you could have family times when you read with them. And I talked about, okay, maybe TV on weekends. If weekends is when you watch TV, when they're allowed to watch TV, you can select a movie that is family friendly, that you can watch with them, that you can talk about together, watch together. You can put that on your schedule too. All of this thing also facilitates bonding. Some of us, we look back and we remember some of those things that our parents used to do with us. Okay, maybe daddy used to play game with me and all of that. We remember those are the fun memories we have, and they're also teachable. Those moments are moments that we can take advantage of to actually teach the children what we want to teach them in a non-structured, non-formal, setting. So we can put game times, family game times. Everybody will look forward to it, like, I'm taking mommy on a monogamy tomorrow or whatever. So those are things we can put. It's not all about put reading, put game, put storytelling time. They can take turns to tell stories, prayer times, all these things. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what is the recommended number? I think I heard someone mention her baby can sleep from like past 12 a.m. What is the recommended number of times that is healthy for a child to sleep?
Okay. From my own personal research, it spans between like 10 to 12 hours.
Wow.
And recently also as an adult, because I'm usually very busy because of kind of work I do mental work. And sometimes when we think of increasing our productivity, we think of cutting down on sleep. So even I have not been having a lot of sleep, and I just read, and I was reading about the importance of sleep, how getting enough sleep can actually make you function better. So sometimes when you are struggling to stay awake, when you're actually fatigued and should be taking a nap, you might actually be doing yourself a disservice. You think you are saving time, but you will find that your productivity is, for instance, I do mental work, I write, I'm editing, whatever. So sometimes when I am actually tired and I'm cutting down on sleep, because we always think that when to increase our productivity, the first thing to cut off sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what happens is that I'm there, what I should have achieved in a sharp state, when I'm in a sharp state of mind in 1 hour, I'm there struggling with it for 3 hours, 4 hours. So at the end of the day, you see that I've actually not saved time. So for children, if it matters like that to adults, think about children now. So children need to have sufficient sleep. Okay, they play a lot. You know, they actually they expend more energy than we adults do. So I think it's good that we let our children sleep early enough so that they can wake up vibrant and, you know, more refreshed. And it also has effect on their health, their development, their or what's this scientific terms, you know, all those things, psychomotor and all of those. So it
Okay.
actually helps in their development. Okay, my earring fell off.
So what are tips that parents can use to get kids to greet? So one of the things I struggled with before I became a parent was I see children, I'm like, these children cannot greet, maybe because of the Yoruba background I was raised in. Oh, I did not know my own was waiting for me in the future. Like my children would just, people would just come and they'll just be looking, and it really tips me off, like, can't you greet? So is this something they are going to grow into, or like maybe over time, maybe at a particular age they'll get it, or we have to start instilling it in them at a particular age?
Yeah, you have to instill it into them. And you have
Okay.
to, like, charity begins from home. All the charities, all the virtues begin from home.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's important that you have your children greet you and your spouse early in the morning. It should be part of their routines. Maybe if they sleep in separate rooms, they come to your room and greet you in the morning. It should be part of their routines. And then, if they have siblings, if the child has siblings, have you said hello to your sister? Have you said good morning to your sister? It might come across as funny, like we woke up in the same house and all of that.
Yeah.
But really, you know what you are doing. Okay, you are also showing them that this thing has to be done intentionally and deliberately. Okay, so it has to start from the home. And like I said, communication is also very important. You can use storytelling and all of that to teach some of these virtues to children. So you don't just, intentionality is a big thing when it comes to parenting. You might want to teach manners to children, and you deliberately go and get books, storybooks that are capturing stories that are teaching manners.
Yeah.
To them, they are just reading
I
a
leave
book.
you. Give me high five. I'll leave you.
So to them,
No high five. I will not leave you.
okay.
Okay, go ahead, please.
All right. So to them, they might just be, reading a story. You're just reading a story to them, but the lesson is embedded, and you're also taking your time to now say, so what did we learn? You know what? You understand? So the children themselves are even telling you that it's good to greet from the story they read. They're telling you that it's good to greet. So because you actually went, if you know you are struggling in a particular area, you can particularly go and buy books or resources that will help you to groom your children, especially in a not structured way. Because sometimes when you begin to particularly say you want to teach a lesson to a child, like it's in a class setting, like this is what, they usually don't get it that way.
Yeah.
But in play situations, they learn a lot more. Okay, so try to make learning as fun for them as possible. So even this greeting thing, number one, let it start from your home. Make sure that they greet you and your spouse, and teach them, communicate with them the value of, respecting other people too, and greeting. And greeting is not restricted to just good morning, good afternoon. It extends to all the thank yous, all the please, and all of them come under, it's under the same thing. So yes, just be deliberate about it as well. Let it start from your home, teach it to them. If you are having issues with it, there's another thing I do. Parenting also has to do with a lot of creativity. I think I shared this story with you one time when we were having a conversation about a young boy that I taught, and the mom would complain to me. He doesn't. I was doing private coaching for him back then. There was a time I was teaching, and so what I did was to invite the boy. It was an 8-year-old boy. A lot of the complaints that the mother had, I just said, okay, let's go out. So we went out together, sat somewhere quiet, and we started to discuss like adults. I was actually making him feel like we are having an executive meeting, and the boy was enjoying it. And I was saying, okay, so these things, why do you even do them? Why do you do all these things that mommy complains about? And he was trying to explain. And I was validating him, but I listened, and then I told him what I felt he could have done differently and all of that. And I asked him, what do you think is the right thing to do now? What should you be doing going forward? And he was the one telling me, I think I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Okay, so I brought out a paper and I wrote, I told him we are going to have a contract. So I wrote on it, contract, Samuel's contract, Samuel and Nancy, and it was two copies. So what do you think we should be doing? He gave me one suggestion, I should be cleaning my room. Okay, so I wrote it down. He started supplying all the others. Auntie, write, Auntie, write, Auntie, write, and I was writing everything. And when I was, I was actually keeping a very straight face when I was doing all of this thing. Like it wasn't, I was being very serious. Okay, okay. Oh, your room, okay, I'll write it, I'll be doing like that. Then when we were done, I made him sign. I said, I'm going to sign here. This is where you're going to sign. The man was like, okay, that was even very interesting. It was intriguing for him that I had to sign. So he too shall form one signature on the paper. So I gave him his copy. I held my copy. I said, that's our contract, this is our agreement. You are telling me that this is what we'll be doing going forward. He said, yes, Auntie, don't tell mommy. I said, I know now. It's between both of us. And we kept it. The boy started behaving. The mother was like, whatever you and Samuel are doing together, I don't even want to know. Just continue. Because he could not, and I kept to my promise of not telling his mom what we did together anyway. I think creativity, yes.
I think the fact that you engage with them, because I actually applied this particular thing with my daughter, and just like the boy was suggesting ways on how he will become better, my daughter actually took over and she was like, okay, I will start behaving this way. So I think that talking to them like you're not talking to a lower person really gets them interested and makes them to also think out of the box as to how they can become better. So I guess it's something people that are present here should take home, no matter how young, even starting from 4 or 5. Just talk to them like you're talking to a pep. Okay.
It is a principle of people living up to the responsibility or the expectations you have of them. If you have positive expectations, they live up to it. But you're always thinking they will mess up, they probably also live up to that expectation.
It's actually, for me, it worked. Definitely when he shared it with me, it worked like magic. Like we actually signed, she wrote down her signature, and I was shocked. I did not know until I implemented it myself. She was suggesting, okay, I'll do this better, it will never happen again. Or like before that, I'll be shouting on top of my voice. But this one, she really stood up and she raised the game. So sorry, we have a question in the chat room where someone is saying, I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but I'm just going to read it through. It said, I remember a certain time my son asked for something and I told him I couldn't give him, and the reason why. He kept on crying, but I simply ignored him and laid down. And the next thing, he lands me a hot slap on my he lands me a hot slap on my eye. And the next thing, I stood up and slapped him back. I regretted my action and apologized, but he never slapped me again. I guess this is referring to one of the
anger
earlier about anger. So another one is, what activities, I guess you've already answered this already. What activities can you recommend to perform with children? You've said reading, you've said playtime, and
games, educational games.
And educational
because
games.
I know a lot of times people just buy any toy, anything. Be deliberate. When you are getting a toy or a game for your child, look at what can this child learn. Because, okay, all these things are simple as they seem. Like I said, play is work for children. This is how they develop their thinking skills, their problem-solving skills, and all of that. So you must be deliberate about what game, what toy am I going to buy that's going to help me in the process of building this kind of child that I want to have.
Yeah. Because they play some games.
Skill, yes.
You expose them, like you have iPads and tablets and things, you expose them to some games that are not healthy for them at all. So true. Yes. Thinking about what they're going to be getting from the toys and the games is very important. What I love affirmations. I am a strong proponent of affirmations. Everybody, everybody in my family says affirmations. I don't think my husband does too, but my children. And my son is 3 years old. He's 3 years plus, and we started instilling it in him. Maybe if my husband is not a firm believer of affirmations, or should I say he doesn't say it in front of us, but we make sure they say it every morning. So I want to ask, because I shared with another group and a lot of women were like, wow, okay, isn't 3 too early for them to start saying affirmations? So now I'm going to throw it to you as a parent expert or a children coaching expert. When do you think we should start telling our children, making them start saying affirmations?
As soon as they can talk.
Yeah.
as soon as they can talk.
Wow. Okay.
You know, something as simple. I usually, though I don't, I don't have a particular. I don't recommend particular affirmations for families or whatever. See what works for you. But I think the simplest for me, from my best book too, which is your favorite book as well, is God is my teacher, great is my peace. You know, even God, if a child cannot just articulate God is my teacher, is enough. If at that stage, maybe a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, if that's all the child can say, God is my teacher, I'm fine with it, you know, because it says that great will be their peace, you know. So even if you can't say the whole scripture, God is my teacher, that's a good place to start. For a child who already can talk.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so awesome. So as soon as they can talk,
soon as they can talk, yes.
If
you can be teaching them, say mama, say dada, say all those other things, we can also tell them, we are saying God is my teacher.
Yeah. So does Parents Connect have already designed affirmations for children? Okay, you've already answered saying you don't have.
We don't.
Okay, so what tips can we use? I believe affirmations can handle this though, but what other tips can we use to develop the confidence of children?
Okay. For a child, affirmation can handle it, but for a child, because they might not even yet understand the process of affirmations, there are other tips that we can begin to use. But I think it's just very important that parents express their pride in their children a lot. Yeah. Yes, let's cut down the criticism to the barest minimum and do a lot more encouraging. And like I said earlier on in one of the questions you asked me as well, that commend them, praise specific acts and behaviors in your children. So this is a good way to build their confidence. Also, allow them to solve their own problems. A lot of times we parents, because we're experienced, a lot of times we just want to always step in and help our children. The child is trying to buckle the shoe, is not doing it, but you're already offering help. No, let them solve their own problems. In fact, sometimes deliberately leave them to attempt to do things by themselves. Because what happens is that they begin to develop self-respect. There's a pride you have for accomplishing a task. As adults, we know it works for us. There's a pride that comes with accomplishments. Children also, they have emotions like that. So when a child is able to buckle the shoe by himself, there's a feeling of pride that comes with it, okay? He wants to do more. So these are the little things that begin to build the confidence of the child. Experiencing, like I said, expressing pride in them, then encourage their curiosity, allow them to ask questions. That's also important. This is also important that you find what your children love, what talents, what gifts do they have, and help them to begin to explore it, because it's all about being able to just achieve on your own, build your confidence naturally. And as parents, we should also exhibit confidence in front of our children. I read something about learned hopelessness many years ago, and one of the things it says causes learned hopelessness is a mother's explanatory style. Okay, that's the way your own parents do, the way they assess issues, or the way they respond or react to issues, it's very likely that you'll pick it up as well. So if you're a confident woman, a confident man, the likelihood is that your children will also pick the same traits from you just by watching you being confident. If you're an honest person, like my own father, a lot of people will say my father is very blunt, that my father can tell anybody the truth and whatever. People say the same thing about me now. Like some of my friends will be like, when they want to hear the truth, like, Aderonke, I know you will tell me the truth about this. Like, they believe I will say that whoever. And I think that grew on me from watching my father do it. So it just was like the normal thing, okay? So when you also act confidently, your children see you in a situation that where you should have fallen apart, and they see you together, they are also learning it. They are learning it, and they also grow up to become confident people as well.
Interesting. I love what you just said about the the parents, the children imitating the parents.
Yes.
Like, so a question with regards what you just said is, good evening. I have a child that is 8 plus, and she's very timid with low self-esteem. I've tried all this and it's still not working. What exactly can I do? So that's
She's timid.
Yes, that's the
And the
child.
child is 8 years old.
Yes.
Okay, there might be other underlying issues. This might not be a question I can just answer like that, because we have to look at what environment, what are the factors surrounding the child, what was growing up like, what was your relationship with her before and all that. Because, okay, like I usually say I started my own parenting journey as a teenager, I
Yeah.
say that. And there was a time I came to the consciousness of, as the first child of my family, I should be able to influence my younger ones, and I took it up. But before that time, okay, this earring doesn't want to stay on my ear, so I'm just saying, before that time, I remember that the third person to me, my second younger sister, then before I came to that consciousness, I actually had a very bad relationship with her. Like, I would beat her, I didn't know how to manage. I was a child myself anyway, so if she did anything, I just give it to you like that. So by the time I came to that consciousness, she was already like very introverted and withdrawn. And I didn't even realize, and like, it was difficult for her to stay in the same room with me. I had so intimidated her that. So it was when a friend came to my house one day and saw her, knows me to be this bubbly person, and saw my sister, like, at least your sister doesn't talk, but she doesn't laugh. That was when I knew that there was a damage that had been done. So I had to start a process of re-engineering the relationship. I had to watch my conversations with her. What do I say to her? Because she had become a very timid and introverted person. So I would write her letters sometimes,
Okay.
saying good things about her. I would write notes to her. And whether I give, so all these things, they might be little tips, but when I'm saying I'm commending her in a letter that you are like this, you are good, I like you. So before you knew it, she began to, it was like she was blossoming, like a blossoming flower. Like, she began to evolve again and began to express herself again. So I really don't know what the background to this question is. If it's okay for you to share my number with the person, if the person would like to talk to me
Okay.
about it, so that we can take it. I can ask further questions to know how I can actually help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's awesome. I've picked up something, and that's about writing letters to just reaffirm who they really are to themselves. It's a big struggle, even for adults. Like, we struggle to know who we really are, what's our identity. We seek a lot of validation from people close to us. Talk more of children that haven't even gone into the world yet. So yes, writing letters may go a long way. It's something I've written down that I want to employ with my daughter as well going forward, and to increase our bond, like mommy writing letters. And I think it's something you're actually building for the future as well. Like, it's something that they'll look back on and they can also implement when they become mothers or parents themselves. So thank you so very much, because you're actually a very busy person. And I wanted to do a quick recap. What I'm taking away is intentionality. As a parent, you have to be very intentional. And I really love what you said. I know you have said we shouldn't make it too structured in the sense of the kind of schedule or the kind of things we want to be having with our kids, but we should go. For example, I'm a person that is stuck upon routines myself, and no, I shouldn't just do routines for myself, but also develop routines for my children, no matter how scanty it may look. But let them wake up with the mindset of not just waking up and playing all day, but they should know the first thing or the second thing they are meant to do when they wake up. So thank you so much for dragging and pushing that into our consciousness. But what will you want to say is a takeaway? Should be a takeaway for anybody that came here today.
Oh, okay. I think the first thing I'd like to say is, whatever your religion, know that parenting is a huge responsibility that God has given us.
Yeah.
This is how He multiplies His presence on the earth. So the family is a very important sort of structure of the society, and what happens, parenting is a vital part of the family. So be deliberate about it, and trust God in your parenting journey. trust God. That's very important for the wisdom to be a parent. I don't know what religion the people here, so I cannot talk about, but you know, they are even in our adult lives. Sometimes when we are stuck, we just, whatever you believe in, we are praying and saying, help me to sort this. And then an idea, a wisdom, a book gets in your hands, or you hear something that helps you along that journey.
Yeah.
So let's put our confidence in God for this parenting thing, and then let's be patient with ourselves. Let's be patient with ourselves, and let's be patient with our children. And like I've reiterated a lot of times in this talk, let's be intentional about parenting. See, I think that the society will be better if we inculcate the right values in our children, because if we want to see a better society, we talk about a dishonest politician or whatever, it all starts from the home, you know,
Yeah.
and parenting starts with us ourselves. Like, we need to go back and reevaluate our values. As a person, what are your values? There are things that you cannot even begin to communicate to certain parents because to them is a norm, is a norm. Gossip is norm in some families. Yeah, you know, I see a lot of things I do. I'm just taken aback, like, what's going on here? Okay, so we need to go back and reevaluate our own selves, our values. What personal values do we have to pass on to these children? Because God is trusting us, and our own parents might have gotten it wrong with us. So let's start with getting rid of the toxicity in our own system, so that we can be open to carry on this responsibility with a clear conscience, and you know, just on a clean plate, and trust God to help us along the way.
Thank you, Aderonke. I'm
Thank
so
you
grateful
too.
because having you is awesome considering your very busy schedule. So thank you very much, and
All
thank
of
you
us are busy.
everybody who thank everybody who signed up, who
Thank you.
registered, who attended. It was really nice having everybody here, and I hope
Thank
we've
you.
all been blessed. Me, I've been blessed. I've learned a lot, and I hope to become better. Let's not just acquire knowledge, but let's also apply knowledge that we gather. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.